Hey now, ladies and gentlemen. Hey now, hey now, hey now, and hey now. Welcome to our number 2 of the Line Talk 99.5, Talk995.com, AndrewMcLeanWho.com, and the Talk 995 app. Y'all make sure and get that dadgum thing downloaded because it is really what you need in your life. It's really what you need, especially as we deal with our tower issues.
Dang it.
You know, we gotta work with what we got. You know, we could do a video of John Bird going up the tower.
Oh, no, that's against FCC regulations.
Is it?
Yeah.
Even if it's just like if we just went to the site and then we could AI you Spider-Manning up the side of the tower, you know?
Yeah. Actually, that's pretty good. And I haven't found a video editor, and I'm willing to pay for it, but that really does a great job as far as waiting on our buddy expert Gary Cantrell to advise me.
Yeah.
On those things. And then when I do it, we'll be able to oh dang.
Well, yeah, because when it comes to the reels, like I don't know if you see the reels he puts together, but it'll do like whatever they're talking about. The video will start off with the audio of them talking, but it'll be a short video of the person that they're talking about, and the person is doing whatever it is they're talking about. So, for instance, if it's Hogan, right? They're talking about something that happened with Hogan back in the day. Well, he's like, he'd be like, well, me and Hogan were talking, and Hogan said, blah, 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 blah. What would be an AI video of Hogan saying the thing exactly at the same time that Bubba's saying it.
Okay, man. I know
stuff like that.
Yeah, his wife's in the hospital. So
it looks really good.
When it's done, I need to hook up with Gary.
Well, you can reach out to him because I
did, but he was wanting to talk in depth.
Oh, I got you.
Sure. So it may be a good time. I'm gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, I talked to him a few days ago, and it was just to check on him and see how things were going. And he said things are headed in the right direction. Not to put his business out there, which I just did. Sorry, Gary. I have a tendency to do that. But anyway, if you want to get in, 205-545-9950. Tom from Pell City on the text line says, where's YouTube? Well, it's at youtube.com. Search Real Talk 99.5 TV. I'm watching it right now. So
yeah, and can you get to it on the app?
No, I keep forgetting to tell somebody. I don't know who we tell, but the YouTube video the YouTube feed has not been on the app lately. So can we, who do we tell? I guess we tell Val, and she knows.
Yeah,
who to tell.
I would say yeah.
Oh, wait. No, it's on there now. They fixed it.
Man, they're listening. YouTube's listening to you. Dang.
Well, it's not YouTube. It's whoever runs our app.
Whoever runs our app's listening to you.
So if you have the app, you can watch us live from the app as well. So it's right there. It's the very first thing on the app is our video live stream. But if you watch us via YouTube, what happens at the end of each hour, the stream has to reset because if we go for 4 hours straight, it ends up filling up the cache and crashing out because it can only store so much memory. It can't do because we have 12 hours worth of shows that we broadcast every single day, and we just don't have room to save that big a file, so we have to break it up into hours.
Yeah, I mean, and I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah,
continue.
Mm-hmm.
It was important too.
It was about YouTube and breaking up the hours.
Yeah, that's important. I remember. I usually try and start. Stop blaming. I usually try and start a couple minutes 2 to 3 minutes before we go on. That gives people time to get their
in there.
notifications and everything to get in there. That seems to work.
Yeah, good idea. Good thinking.
Thank you.
Good thinking, Lincoln. All right, let's go with it. Let's start off with primaries, shall we? Primaries yesterday. Some of the big ones, or the ones I paid attention to, were actually in Florida. And you had one in particular that made me incredibly happy, which was a race on the Democrat side that consisted of a guy by the name of Alexander Vindman. Now, I don't know if y'all remember Alexander Vindman, but he was a darling of the left at one point during the first Trump administration, towards the end of the first Trump administration. It was one of multiple impeachments, as a matter of fact. It was Vindman that testified about the whistleblower and the Ukraine hoax. Remember, Trump called Ukraine and tried to get dirt on Joe Biden and all this stuff, and there were several aspects to that story, but Vindman was right in the middle of it. He was a direct advisor to the president. This was, remember, the first Trump administration was riddled with deep staters from the Obama administration and just lifers that have been in there that protect each other. And they all had it out for Trump. Well, Vindman was one of these individuals. And so he ends up turning on Trump and getting involved in the impeachment and all kinds of stuff, and ends up becoming a nobody after he was no longer useful to the Democrat Party. So he decided he was going to run for Congress in Florida. Alexander Vindman. And he was running up against a DSA, Democrat Socialist nobody, named Angie Nixon. Now, Vindman, because he's part of the deep state, he gets the money pipeline of the DNC, the Democrat Party, and raised $10 million and has very big name recognition because of his role in trying to take down Donald Trump in his first term. He raised $10 million. On the other side, Angie Nixon, she raised a fraction of that. And she's a socialist. So a lot of people said to themselves, Angie Nixon doesn't stand a chance. Vindman is going to blow him out of the water. I think he raised a total of $16.2 million for this one race, one congressional race, right? And by the time it was over, Alexander Vindman got beat by this socialist who was outspent 13-1 by more than 10 points. He got clobbered by the nobody Angie Nixon. And it couldn't have happened to a better guy. How embarrassing. She raised around $800,000 while Vindman had the full backing of the Democrat Party and raised what some estimates say near $20 million. Now, how are they getting this money? I think more people need to be asking that. While the DNC is struggling financially, I understand you've got your Act Blue and everything else, but some of that's drying up. Like, where are they getting this money? There's not enough people asking those questions to say, how does a small congressional race in Florida get so much money put into it? The world may never know. Why? Because it's probably, at least in part, taxpayer money that's being funneled to the Democrats, as has been proven in the past. But good for Vindman. I think it was absolutely hilarious that he got obliterated. Donald Trump responded to it on Truth Social saying, quote, sleazebag Vindman loses tonight to a radical left lunatic. How cool is that? President DJT. That is cool. That is cool, Mr. Press. Mr. P. I like it. Also, on the governor's side of things, Byron Donalds easily winning Florida's Republican primary for governor. That's going to be big for the state of Florida. Love Byron Donalds. And I think he's going to do a fantastic job. We'll talk about him and much more when we get back. Hang tight. 205-545-9950. So, Trump endorsed Byron Donalds, ends up winning Florida's Republican primary for governor. What were the numbers on that? Do I have the numbers? He blew it out of the water. Let me see. Florida primary, because these change throughout the evening. Although I think Florida, and by the way, other states should take note. I think Florida had their winners within an hour. Had enough votes counted to know who won. Byron Donalds won with 47.8% of the votes. With the next closest one, Jake Collins, in second place with 25%. And then you had David Jolly, who won the Democrat side. David Jolly had the audacity to say that the GOP, during his acceptance speech, saying that the GOP is trying to take us back to slavery. The GOP is trying to take us back to slavery by electing a black guy to be governor, be the representative candidate of the GOP. It's kind of a weird way to go back to slavery, but I digress. Here's Byron Donalds last night after it was announced that he was the winner, to a very warm crowd there in Florida. I don't know where he was at. Maybe he's in Tallahassee. I think that's where he's originally from. But this was part of his speech last night.
We've been crisscrossing Florida. We've been knocking hundreds of thousands of doors, taking our message to all Floridians. And tonight, because of your sweat, because of your hard work, we have won a massive victory.
Oh, was that it? Oh, there we go.
Now, we've just come through a hard-fought primary. I got a call from Paul Renner and James Fishback tonight. And they, hold on, I'm going to tell you why in a moment. And they congratulated me and all of us on a hard-fought victory. And my conversation with both of them is very simple. Congratulations. Let's go beat David Jolly in November.
Yeah.
You see, because individual opinions and passionate supporters are the beauty of our conservative movement. But tonight, the primary is over. Tonight, we put aside our differences. Tonight, we are one united Republican Party.
Yeah, we are. David Jolly. There's nothing jolly about that guy, by the way. He's a miserable Democrat and doesn't stand a chance. I think he knows that. Florida's solid red. Byron Donalds, that's his race to win, much like it's Tommy Tuberville's race to win here in Alabama. But he mentioned the people he was up against. One in particular who came in a very distant third place with like 10% of the vote was a guy named James Fishback. And James Fishback was making waves on social media, but not with voters of Florida. The reason he was making waves on social media is because he spent a lot of time concentrating on the Israeli lobby and money being sent to Israel and money being spent from AIPAC and everything else. And while I can understand those concerns to an extent, you are not going to win a statewide office, especially in Florida. It depends on where you're at, I guess, or what you're running for. But you're not going to win office when that's something you're heavily concentrating on, because you isolate the Jewish voters. You could just completely box those people out, And whether or not they're right in their beliefs, if they view Israel as their homeland or they've got family that's still there or whatever, and you are coming off as somebody that doesn't like Israel, whether you define that as the government or whatever, I'm just speaking politically here, outside of the views of what's right and what's wrong, you're not going to get any traction. And while maybe James Fishback thought that the fact that Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and whoever else was sticking up for him and saying he'd be a great governor for Florida, that doesn't necessarily translate to the people actually voting in primaries in Florida. It's just the reality of it. Plus, on the Republican side, a lot of people have put Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson at arm's length, most of which is because of their attacks on Donald Trump. People just don't want to hear it. People think, a majority of the Republicans think Donald Trump is doing a good job. Is there stuff here and there that they disagree with? Yeah, maybe. But overall, Trump is still their guy. And it's not that Tucker or Candace are able to say, I just disagree with the president on this. They say, I disagree with the president on this, and that's a deal breaker. I don't support him anymore. Alex Jones, the same way. Alex Jones is like, Israel, and I can't support Trump. Alex Jones is calling for the 25th Amendment and for Trump to be impeached. Literally. And then, of course, there's Nick Fuentes, which, nobody's willing to touch Nick Fuentes with a 20-foot pole. But that kind of stuff, it doesn't translate with average people, especially people voting in primaries, because people that vote in primaries, at least on the Republican side, somewhat pay attention to what's going on. That's why the numbers are so low compared to general elections. Because not everybody votes in those. Only the people that actually want to pick their candidate. Most people just wait until November and go with who they got, which is a bad idea. It's not smart to not try to pick your own candidate before November gets here, but hey, you do you. So, anyway, that's what happened to James Fishback, in my opinion. Congratulations to Byron Donalds. It was not. It was a good night for the GOP. Also, you had in Florida Corey Mills, who got unseated in U.S. House District 7. Ryan Elijah beating him, taking his seat. Corey Mills has had a whole lot of controversy, including domestic violence issues on his end, so he's probably better off just getting out of the way. Yeah, with the Corey Mill stuff, it was allegations of domestic violence, stolen valor, and financial crimes, which is quite the trifecta.
What is stolen valor exactly?
It means you are lying about your military service,
Okay,
or
okay.
your rank, or could be a lot of different things. Could just be lying about what kind of combat you were. It's like Tim Walz. Remember Tim Walz was
Stolen
claiming
valor, okay.
he did X, Y, and Z, and he really didn't. It's that's stolen valor, and it could be as simple as you're wearing fatigues. I've seen videos of people in airports wearing fatigues, and just because they think it's cool, and they get approached by actual veterans, and they're like, "You better take that ish off."
And that's been going on for years.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, Corey Mills is kind of whether or not he's a solid conservative, he's just kind of a problem for the GOP. So it's likely good that he's gone. And there's other people that are in that same boat, which I'll get into later in the show. But I want to hop back to something that we talked about yesterday, which is the media. Well, it was really the internet. And then all of a sudden, John Ossoff, Pee Wee Herman, brings it up and mentions Natalie Harp. If you recall, Natalie Harp was Natalie Harp is Donald Trump's main confidant in the sense of getting out Truth Social posts and everything else. She travels with him and all of this. Well, the internet, lefties on Blue Sky or whatever, yeah, Donald Trump is banging Natalie Harp, and that's how she got that position. She slept her way into it, and blah, 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 blah. Well, with all that being said, John Ossoff turns out to be the first Democrat to actually come out and mention her. There's no reason to mention her. She doesn't put herself out there. She's not in the spotlight. She's not at press conferences. She stays behind the scenes. I think I've seen her do one public appearance, which was at the 2020 convention, where she spoke about how Donald Trump's decision to adopt the right to try policy saved her life. And that was it. Hadn't really heard anything from her since. She stays behind the scenes, does her job. But the internet is the internet, and they do it. And then Pee Wee Herman, John Ossoff, comes out, and he's like, Donald Trump rides around on a Saudi plane with Natalie Harp, leaning into that. It's exactly what he meant. He's accusing Trump of having sexual relations with a very young Natalie Harp. Well, so because John Ossoff brought it up, that sets the stage for the losers at CNN to then make it a topic of discussion. And CNN's Aaron Burnett drags out Natalie Harp's liberal brother to help solidify the rumor that his sister is having sex with the president. Literally, this is what they're doing. And listen to how this interview went.
You guys grew up in the same home, the same family, so you understand where she's coming from in a way that no one else does.
Yeah.
What do you think drew her to him?
Definitely not her.
Yeah.
Well, my mom raised us with the idea that American exceptionalism was the correct way of looking at things. That the United States is the boss of the world. That slavery was back then, that was normal. People weren't bad because they had slaves. And honestly, and it's like Trump wants to take all those books out of schools. He wants to rewrite history. And so I think that my sister, unfortunately, didn't break out of that delusion that my mom raised us with. And Trump is like everything that my mom taught us to respect. So I think that's where her infatuation for Trump comes from, honestly, because I don't think it's a physical attraction. Let's get real, personally, I don't think so.
So when you use the word infatuation, I understand your point about the nature of it. I mean, she obviously is his assistant. They call her the human printer, right? She prints everything. She takes his social media dictation. She accompanies him on almost every trip, including when he goes to Mar-a-Lago or his golf club in New Jersey on the weekends. And she was, of course, Preston, as we're all now aware, one of the very few people who did not include the Secretary of State or Treasury that Trump took off Air Force One via that catering truck. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that. If you're really friends and loyal to your team, why would you just go peace out and take another airplane when you think the other airplane's going to get shot down? Like,
what do you think it is about her? I mean, what do you make of how much the president relies on her? We've learned a lot, from Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's new book, we've learned, right, about his incredible reliance on her at all hours of the day to post social media posts, just as one example.
Yeah. I think that Trump's best friends are people who are his fan club, and so she's his biggest fan. And so that's probably why he likes her. And like, she's good looking. She's got a good personality. Like, I don't know.
I want to ask you, Preston, about something
she thinks that he saved her life. So like somebody living with that kind of gratitude, that must feel pretty good.
Yeah, dude. Like totally, my sister's like,
she's got a slamming body, man. Weirdo.
She's very attractive. But that's not even the point. Not even the Stoner brother is not even the point here. What I want you to focus on is this sleazebag, Aaron Burnett at CNN, continue to dig after the brother says there's not a physical attraction there between the two. She continues to dig. She's like, well, what is it? Why does he care so much about her? Why is she taking her on the plane? Why has he got her by his side? And then she just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, man, these guys are so desperate. But listen, I enjoy when the fake news media finds themselves in this position because it shows that they're grasping at straws, that there's not a whole lot that they can go after, so they're having to attack Natalie Hart. Oh, but they didn't put it on the plane. They took her in the other plane. It left us reporters on the Air Force One that was going to get shot down. Here's the thing. The Air Force One that the reporters were on was likely never going to get shot down. But in an abundance of caution, if there is even a 0.00001% chance that Iran will not shoot the plane down, but attempt to shoot the plane down, they're going to move the president. Okay? There was probably a more likely chance of that plane having a mechanical failure and crashing than there were Iran firing some missile and hitting the Air Force One that had the reporters on board. This is more of a procedural move than it is oh my gosh, this plane's definitely going to get shot, so let's get out of here. We're leaving the fake news media on here so they can all die. It all goes back to one thing and one thing only. It's narcissism. It's narcissism on Aaron Burnett's part. It's narcissism on the media's part. These people are so self-important. They're so self-absorbed. They think so highly of themselves, of their profession, of their companies, that they're better than everybody else. They're certainly better than you. They're smarter than you. They went to college. They've got an education. You're just a dumb redneck that supports Donald Trump. I'm so much better than you. That's the media. That's the media mindset. And listen, if you're a young person, because I know we have young people in the audience. If you are an aspiring journalist, you need to make sure that you're full of yourself. You need to be extremely cocky, extremely self-absorbed, and think that your ish don't stink. Otherwise, you ain't gonna make it in the journalism business. I'm just telling you right now. You've got to be a grade A, top tier narcissist. What is this? I know it's one of my songs. I just don't.
Yeah, it's Her Last Sight. Danny called me a cowboy king.
Oh, that's the one at the towards the end. It's like howdy.
Oh, I'm gonna remember that for
that?
next time.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a good one. All right, 545-9950. Let's keep going with primary, not just primary, but election stuff. Trump put out yesterday a Truth Social post saying that, let me see if I can find the exact one. In a post, he wrote, quote, the Census Bureau has begun checking the voter records from 2020 against their citizenship records. Now, this is huge, by the way. On the first 128 million voters, the Census Bureau proved that over 24,000 non-citizens voted illegally. The Census Bureau is going to analyze the next 32 million voters, and this number will explode. I won the election. We must pass the Save America Act. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So they found that 24,000 non-citizens voted illegally. No wonder CNN's bringing Natalie Harp's brother on for an interview. With that kind of stuff out there. And here's the thing. This is not just made up or some crazy thing that Donald Trump's saying. According to the official U.S. Census Bureau graphics, the preliminary analysis of the 2020 general election shows this. 160 million ballots were cast, give or take. 128 million voter records were linked to U.S. citizens. 24,000 plus voter records were linked to non-citizens. And then that leaves you with the 32 million that he mentioned that remains to be analyzed. That's 24,000 confirmed on the first 128 million records. So the Census Bureau, and this is what you got to understand about how they get these numbers and how confirmed this is. Their own materials make clear that these are not clerical errors or mistaken registrations, okay? Non-citizen status was determined by the complete absence of any proof of citizenship combined with the affirmative federal records proving the individual was a non-citizen. So for it to fall into the category of the 24,000 non-citizens that voted, they had to have no U.S. birth record, no record of becoming a citizen, no U.S. passport, no government citizenship record, no other proof of citizenship, and no green card, non-citizen record, visa issued to a non-citizen, no foreign student non-citizen record, no enforcement non-citizen record, no DACA non-citizen approval, no non-citizen code held up by an agency, and no taxpayer ID issued to said non-citizen. It had to check all of those boxes to find its way into the 24,000. They had no proof of any of that. So in other words, zero evidence of citizenship plus multiple federal records confirming non-citizen status. That equals illegal voters who cast ballots in the 2020 election. And as you know, many of the deciding states in the 2020 election were very, very close. They even, the Census Bureau even gave a breakdown of the 24,000 as far as where they were from. At the top of the list was Mexico. Canada came in second place, followed by the Philippines, Jamaica, Germany, the UK, Cuba, Vietnam, Haiti, and South Korea. That's right. And birth country data was unavailable for approximately 7,000 of those non-citizen voters. So there's a big chunk of them, they don't even know where they're from. That's how non-citizen they are. They don't even know where they're from. That's crazy. So we'll see what the number is on the remaining 32,000. Again, this is just from the 2020 election. When it comes down to, and a lot of people are worried about this, including myself, which is why we've made the Save America Act such a big deal. The Trump administration, and I'll give Republicans a little credit on this as well, but mostly the Trump administration, have put into place a very detailed plan on how they want to secure this next election. And not just 2028, but the one coming up in November. They have made a lot of moves under the assumption that feckless John Thune is not going to get the job done and not going to pass the Save America Act. And who knows if it could be even implemented. I imagine it could. You know, even if you're a month out from the election, I don't see why you couldn't implement that. They have done many things, put many things in place to make sure everything is on the up and up, at least as much as they possibly can, which includes the DOJ deploying a ton of poll watchers to polling locations all over the country. 1,000 federal monitors, sending them to polling places nationwide for the midterms. That's the Justice Department. And, of course, Democrats will be against that. They will say that this is Nazi Germany. But why wouldn't you want people there to make sure everything's on the up and up? They're not doing anything. They're just poll watchers. Just watching to make sure everybody's doing their job. We also need to put in place, and I've got several ideas of what we could do to keep our elections a little more secure. We need to get back to the days of only super elderly people running our polling places. Because these days, those are the only people you can trust. Old people, we'll be honest, they're too old to care. So they'll tell you everything straight up. They ain't going to lie to you. But there needs to be a 70-year cutoff, 70 years old or older to work at a polling place at the end of the day. I see some of these other places across the country, and they've got 25, 30-year-old overweight lesbians with green hair working the polls. Can't do that, man. Can't do it. You can't do it. It's got to be old people only. From the poll workers to the people counting the votes to the people handing out the stickers. I only want old silver foxes